Hi, you're watching Community Tell-A-Vision, a forum for holistic change and exchange. My name is Roxanne Seitz, and my guest is Jordi Numata of Dear Spirit Reiki. I met Jordi initially because I had heard about the Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center down in Chinatown, New York City. And I knew that down there I could get some Reiki and I could get some ear acupuncture, so I wandered in. Jordi, you have a private practice as well, so could you talk to me about that?
Yes, I do, and I'm actually a part-time staff at the Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center, which is on 25 Allen Street. And the Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center provides services to people that are HIV positive, LGBT, diagnosed with a mental illness, or a history of drug use.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, anybody can come there and get services. You just have to say, well, I used to, drink too much.
Oh, okay.
So we don't turn anybody away, but a lot of the people that we serve are people that have some pretty serious issues.
Mm-hmm.
And there's counseling there, there's support groups there. I do, on 3 days a week, I do a couple hours of ear acupuncture and Reiki for people, anybody that wants that.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody can come there and get free services. You just have to do a short intake process, and there's we have a great staff there, and we can help people get housing. We can, do a lot of stuff to serve people that are marginalized, that are struggling with addictions or abuse or whatever their problem is. A lot of the people that we serve are just people that just kind of don't really fit in to mainstream society and are struggling because of that. So
They don't want to make the total effort to fit in either.
yeah, I really identify with the people that I serve because I have a history of drug addiction, and I have 14 years in recovery from drug addiction.
Oh.
And I was homeless for a long time, and my life became very, very dark, And
How did you find light at the end of that dark tunnel?
I basically got just sick and tired of the daily grind of just having to hustle up money and to try to get drugs and living on the street, and I was basically kind of mandated into recovery by the court system, and I ended up in a rehab and just got clean and
Well, some people it takes many, many times to get clean, right?
yeah.
But you had motivation, so how did you, what were some of the steps that you were able to take to clear yourself out?
Well, I was a very, very stubborn person, and like I said, the court said you have to get into rehab, and we're going to put you in rehab.
Okay.
And I was sent upstate, and I was put in a jail upstate where they had a Phoenix House program,
Mm-hmm.
and I went through that for a long time, and gradually graduated. After a while, I graduated and was able to come back into, into society. And by that time, I realized I don't want to have to go through anything like that again.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to just stay addiction free.
Uh-huh.
And but
I will want to say, my take of the staff at the Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center, you included, are that there's a lot of kind-heartedness there, like big-heartedness,
yeah, and
gentleness, compassion.
A lot of the staff there are people that we in the industry we call peers,
Mm-hmm.
that have gotten, gone to college and gotten degrees. But when I say peers, I mean people that are of the same,
that have gone through the same
exactly
stuff.
the same portion of society of the people that we serve.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's
people
why
who have struggled with
right.
addiction.
With whatever, they may be HIV positive or
Mm-hmm.
be gay or transsexual or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's natural for us to serve the population that we serve because we identify with them, and so And of course, that really qualifies you to serve people that if you've been through what they've been through. And that's, harm reduction actually started as needle exchange back in the 80s.
Meaning we'll give you clean needles because
Right.
we know you're apt to kill yourself if you keep using
Right.
dirty needles.
And it was very controversial, and it was kind of done like as like a very grassroots thing that didn't have like official sanction. And gradually it became accepted because the rate of the spread of AIDS was reduced like dramatically.
See. Okay.
And because people thought, oh, you're just you're enabling addicts by giving them clean needles, but in a way you are. But at least the thing with addicts is that they're going to use no matter what, you know, until they decide to get clean. So you might as well have them use more safely, and that began the whole concept of harm reduction. Where it's like we're not trying to impose an agenda on people or change people. We're just trying to meet them where they're at and see how can we help you. So a lot of the people that we serve in harm reduction are still active users or they're on methadone, and but not all. Okay, but and that's I have a very successful private practice where I do healing sessions and coaching sessions. I'm also an astrologer, and I do tarot cards, and I teach Reiki, which is probably the most popular. It is the most popular spiritual healing touch modality in the world right now. It's like spread worldwide.
It's certainly very popular in this part of the world.
And it's used in hundreds of hospitals in the United States, and New York City alone, there's Reiki programs in many of the hospitals, and which they've had for quite a while.
So for those who might not know about Reiki, could you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, Reiki was a huge part of my journey of just my path in life of self-realization, because after I got off drugs, I got interested in Reiki, and I found a Reiki teacher, and I got, I went through the levels of training in Reiki, and that opened up a whole new way of life for me.
Did it clear your mind, your heart, open your spirit to study the practice?
Yes, it did. And, first I just went to a healing circle, and then the teacher, the Reiki teacher that was running that healing circle, I studied with her. And her name is Louisiana Zen. She doesn't live in the city anymore, but she's a very well-known Reiki teacher in New York City. But, Reiki comes from Japan. And in Japan, traditionally, there are many forms of healing touch. And one of them was just basic folk medicine that mothers would give to their children, and by just placing their hands, laying their hands on the child.
But you're talking more about the physical touch, more than the physical touch, though. You're talking about sending energy, are you not?
Right. But what I'm saying is that in Japan, in Japanese culture, this is something that existed for a long time, and also in other traditional cultures. The laying on of hands is mentioned in the Bible,
Right.
And there's Tibetan Reiki, that a Tibetan tradition that goes back thousands of years, and
Reiki having the word ki in it, which is the same as chi
exactly
in India, for example.
Yeah.
And chi meaning energy, right?
Yeah.
So it's an energy transmission. How would I experience it if you were giving me a Reiki treatment?
So just to backpedal a little bit, the word Reiki, you're right, the key is energy, but the Rei part of the word Reiki means spiritual or divine, or you know. So we're tapping into a greater source. It's not just our physical energy. Often people say, "Don't you get depleted by giving all this energy?" Well, no. We're not channeling our personal energy, which would be dysfunctional because we would get depleted. We're tapping into the divine source of creation, into the divine, which is unlimited energy. It's infinite energy, and we're vibrating at that frequency. So when you get your attunement from your teacher to open up your ability to channel Reiki, which is, that ability is dormant in everybody. It can be activated if you work with a teacher, and
or you might be lucky to stumble upon it with or without a teacher. And sometimes we have teachers who are not visible.
Invisible teachers, yes.
Right.
And I actually know people, I can think of at least one person that actually had very pure, very strong Reiki and never got any training. But that's rare, though.
Of course, I love a tutorial.
Yeah.
I mean, I love having a mentorship. So being mentored
Yeah.
is a wonderful thing.
And that's a very traditional way of spiritual teaching is through direct energy transmission through a lineage. And the Reiki lineage that I'm initiated in, and that's the most popular energy healing lineage in the world right now, began with a guy named Mikao Usui in Japan in the 1920s. And he got the energy through a 21-day fast that he did on a sacred mountain named Mount Kurama in Japan. And he had already been married and had a career and raised children. And he decided that he wanted to become enlightened in the Buddha. He's raised in the Buddhist tradition. He wanted to become enlightened like Buddha. And so he did Zen meditation for many years. And he became frustrated because he hadn't reached enlightenment yet. And his teacher said, "Why don't you do a meditation fast on the sacred mountain, Mount Kurama?" And by that time, his burning desire for enlightenment was so strong that he said, it's like either enlightenment or death. And he went up on the mountain, and after 21 days of fasting and meditation, he had a massive experience of enlightenment, which is basically you become one with the universe. Your ego just dissolves, and you have this incredible experience of like, it's hard to put into words, but this is when you get your Reiki attunement, you get entrained into that energy of enlightenment.
Just going to have to cough for a little bit because
Okay.
I'm finishing up about bronchitis.
I'll give you some Reiki.
Thank you. Please do. I think they cut it a little bit while I'm doing that. A little bit more. Okay, I'm okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were talking about him getting enlightenment.
Yeah.
And
So that's Reiki. When I teach Reiki, I really stress the fact that this is much more than just a healing touch modality. It's a spiritual path towards enlightenment. So when you get your attunement from your teacher, which only takes 2.5 minutes, and
but preceding that 2.5 minutes, you've done a lot of work on yourself and you've learned a lot about the Reiki.
Yeah. Reiki is actually very easy to learn. You can, if you take level 1, the lineage I teach in is level 1 Reiki you take in 1 day, and you learn the basic Reiki principles, you learn the history of Reiki, you get your attunements, and then you're shown how to give yourself a treatment and how to treat others, which is just, light touch on the body and different hand positions. And really simple. There's young children that learn Reiki. So it's not, you don't have to be like some sort of, yoga practitioner or meditator for a long time to do Reiki. Anybody that's interested.
Well, you can start and then you can achieve greater and greater levels, right? Greater levels of ability to send energy and...
Right. So ideally, once you go through your Reiki training, you practice it as a spiritual practice. You treat yourself every day. You do some meditation while you're treating yourself. You treat others when you have a chance. And Reiki practitioners love to do volunteer work, because the thing is once you get that download of energy from your teacher, you start to become more enlightened. And the thing with enlightenment is that it's not just this wow experience of like incredible expansion and bliss. In order to sustain that, the only way you can do that is through service. And this is why you see that the great saints, they always want to do some sort of charity work in the world. They want to feed people. In India, they say, you must feed people. And of course, that's a tradition to make the sacred food in India and offer it, and to the divine first, so you get the blessing from the divine. Then you feed people that sacred food. But it's not just the food; it's the teaching, it's the sharing your wisdom,
It's
the
the
guidance.
warmth, it's the heart.
Right.
And
sharing the love. Yeah.
So, I mean,
So-
it's not only that a person may say, I'm going to give this in order to feel good. It may be that the person then develops a desire to give.
It happens
And
naturally.
then it's
yeah.
sort of like, it's,
Yeah,
I mean, the
it's
person
not-
develops the desire, and then it's very nice that there is the give back.
Right. And it's, you know, it's different when you think, oh, it's your duty to help people and you should do it and you have to do it. And maybe because you've gotten that from a religious teaching, which is great that people do, you know, charity work in that way, but it's different
There's a
from
different
just
quality.
having a natural, because your heart is open, which happens when you practice Reiki. It really opens up your heart. You just have that desire. You know, it's not something that you feel you have to do as your duty, right? It's something that you naturally desire to do, in the same way that you naturally would want to, you know, hug somebody that you love, right?
Yeah. Okay, so it's
So
a win-win situation.
I'm making a distinction
Yeah.
there between
I
like
hear
you know,
you.
having to do it and really
I should
know,
do this.
right, the have to, you know, that you know,
Because the have to still implies there's a certain amount of reserve and withholding. And
Right.
hopefully we get to a point in our
that
lives.
that you're kind of pushing yourself to do it and trying to do it, and
Yeah.
it should be effortless, right? It should be something that you just naturally do without thinking, should I do this? Or no, it's just you're just doing it, you know, and that's so that, you know, I have a private practice that's pretty successful and pretty well known, but I always like to keep the more charity work in, because it's very rewarding for me to do that. You know, to know that I'm just doing this because I love to do it and for no other reason, right? Because that's what charity work is. You're doing it because you want to do it and you know it's the right thing. You see suffering in the world and you want to provide relief for
it's
that.
flow.
Yeah.
It's just very
Right.
natural.
Yeah. And we do a free clinic at the New York Harm Reduction Educators Facility in Harlem once a month.
How can people
Or-
get in tap with that? What's it called again?
New York Harm Reduction Educators. It's another harm reduction facility that's on East 126th Street, and we do it on the second Saturday of every month
At what time?
at 1 to 5 o'clock, and anybody can show up there and get a wonderful spa treatment with not just ear acupuncture, but we'll do what's called community acupuncture when you're in a reclining chair and you roll up your sleeves in your pants, and you can get acupuncture points over the whole body, and then somebody will come and give you Reiki, and I supervise the Reiki team there. It's a lot of my students and colleagues, and you know, on a good day we'll have as many as like 15 healers working there. We'll have massage therapists, reflexology, which is foot massage, then the acupuncture and Reiki, and it's we've been doing that since 2008. We've been doing that free clinic once a month in various locations. And also, I have done several international trips where we go to with two different nonprofit organizations. One's called Healer to Healer, and the other's called Global Healthworks Foundation. And they're both holistic healing and teaching nonprofits. And we go to Guatemala, and we provide big free clinics for the Guatemalans. And we go way up in the mountains where it's basically farmers and small business owners, and there's really hardly any health services there for them. You know, they may have to go hundreds of miles for a hospital. They have some traditional herbal stuff, but it's not, you know, these are Mayan people, and some of them don't even speak Spanish. They still speak just Mayan.
And I asked you before, why Guatemala for
Yeah.
the audience?
Well, this whole trend, now there's several groups that do this, but it started with one of my students named Rick Lim, who started Healer to Healer, and he had lived in Guatemala for 7 years and had friends there in various aspects of society, and he was practicing massage and acupuncture there, and he just decided that he wanted to, a couple times a year, bring a group there to provide clinics. And it worked out really well. I was on the first trip with him, and we treated almost 300 people, I think, in various around Lake Atitlan and the villages around Lake Atitlan. We did free clinics. And then we started, we realized we want to teach people.
Yes.
Because you can teach ear acupuncture, you can learn ear acupuncture really quickly, just the five points in each ear. And then you can learn, Reiki is something that you can easily learn in a day or two and practice. So we wanted to leave the people
but you
with
get better
stuff
and better at
that
it.
they could, that they could help themselves and their communities with. And so we taught them basic Chinese medicine techniques like moxibustion and some basic massage techniques and stuff. And now there's big teams of Guatemalans that can provide these holistic services in addition to their traditional shamanic services and what little, very little Western medical services they have there.
And you had said that Guatemala has been in a state of civil war for the last 30 years.
30 years of civil war in Guatemala and a lot of trauma and PTSD and murder and rape, and most of the women there had been raped, most of the older women did. Now the war ended 15 or 20 years ago, but this is something that,
Trauma has a life of its own.
it's hard for us as Americans to imagine living in a country that's been at war for 30 years, that's like a constant nightmare for 30 years. And
it
you don't
takes its toll.
When the war ends, it's like there's a hangover of trauma from that goes on for generations. And also the trauma is in the land itself, all that blood that's been shed into the land. And one thing that we can do as energy healing channelers is we can channel energy to a whole big area. And if you get, suppose, you get a group of people that are energy healers and you decide, well, we want to do healing for the land in this portion of Guatemala. And you can spend several hours over several days and work on that, and it'll actually release a lot of that trauma from the land.
So some of the trauma is the violence that has taken place on that land that still
Absolutely.
carries an energetic, there's an energetic element that continues to resonate.
There are many, many energy healers that worked on the World Trade Centers after they were
Yes. After
brought down, because there was a tremendous trauma there. And that's something that we can do as energy healers. And the other thing that we can do that seems like very, very wild and out there is you can send, we call it distant healing. You can send the energy over distances, and that's something that's actually very easy to do because you just focus on the person that you're channeling to, and the energy just goes there instantaneously. And that's something I do in my private practice all the time. I have clients from different parts of America or different parts of the world that will just get on the phone or on Skype, and we'll talk about what they want to work on, and then we'll hang up the phone and I'll just channel the energy to them. And
it's a big jump for some people to buy into, let's say, your ability to heal somebody on the other side of the world.
But that's something that you learn in level 2 Reiki, and that we practice in class on level 2 Reiki, and that really can be easily done. It's just a matter of wherever a basic energy principle is that wherever your mind focuses, that's where your energy goes. So it's just a matter of intention and focus. For instance, my mother lives in South Jersey, and she's 95 years old, bless her heart. She's in very good health, but if she's going through something where she needs a little extra help in terms of healing, that's my mother. I can conjure up her presence in my mind very easily. It's my mother.
Oh, okay.
And so it's you can feel a joining of your energies very easily. Very easy for me to connect with her, and that's something that the average person does every day with their friends or with their family. If you think about a friend of yours that's not present with you, you're actually connecting with them.
And sometimes the phone rings.
Right, exactly. It's that same connection that we do every day with people that aren't with us, but you just add the healing energy to it. You just intend for the healing energy to flow.
Thanks for that.
And it does.
Yeah.
But, I want to talk a little bit more about my private practice
do.
now. And as I said, I teach all the levels of Reiki. I teach Karuna Reiki. I also teach a modality that I created myself called angelic liquid light. And angelic liquid light is the modality that I use pretty much 80% of the time now in my sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's with angelic liquid light, we connect with the divine, but it's the divine mother aspect of the divine, which has like very wonderful healing energy, because it's like the mother principle of like nurturing and you know, like the supportive nurturing role that the feminine plays.
Mm-hmm.
So it's has a very feminine mother aspect to it, and also the angelic realm. You know, we tap into the angelic realm for healing, and it's a really beautiful modality that I also teach.
Do you do group teaching then, Jordy?
I do group teaching, and I also do private teaching. If people can't come to my weekend classes, I'll teach you in your home, or in some cases I can teach angelic liquid light. I can teach over the phone or really Skype, because we have to be able to see each other. But Reiki, I don't teach Reiki over distances. I want to have you present in person.
And where do you do these things? Where do you do your teaching?
Madison Wellness Center, 33rd and Madison in Midtown Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Wellness Center, and run by a chiropractor and his wife, Pat and Glenn Scarpelli, who are a wonderful couple that run this center, and there's several healers that work there.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a Monday night Reiki circle there that's open to the public. You can come every Monday night for $10, get half an hour, do guided meditation, and half an hour of Reiki. Bi-weekly I have a vortex healing group. Vortex healing is another modality that I practice, that I have a lot of training in, and I have a colleague that works with me, Carol Ribner, who is also, she's like way up in the highest level of vortex healing, and we've been doing that bi-weekly vortex healing group for since 2009. It's very popular, and most of the people that do that group are on the distant healing list. So I may have 5 or 10 people come in person to Madison Wellness Center, and then the rest, there's people in California that are on the list, there's people in Toronto, because Carol lives in Toronto.
So you're giving the vortex healing at a specific time. Do they have to like lie down and be in a receiving mode over in California?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You just lie down in a quiet place for an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and if you go to my website, you'll see a few dozen testimonies of people that have received distant healing, and they're having pretty dramatic experiences. So, you know, there's no question that it works. It's not just something that you know.
It's not all in our heads.
Yeah, it's not some delusion that like wackos have that this can happen. You know, this is something that's practical, that works, and that has a very long track record of documented.
Millennia track record,
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of this.
Thousands of years.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
So
Actually, vortex healing goes back 5,000 years to India.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't called vortex healing 5,000 years ago in India, but today it's called vortex healing, given that name by the present lineage holder named Rick Weinman, who's a guy that
I've got to sort of cut in here because our time has run out, believe it or not.
Oh my God.
And Jordy, I thank you for being here. It was nice to have you here, and I'm going to
It's
see
been great,
you.
Roxanne.
I'll see you at the Harm Reduction Center because I want some more of those treatments.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
The people